Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. It's Jen on Acre by the Creek. Today I'm giving you tips on how to not give up on your garden. It's mid-July here and we are definitely hitting peak summer. It has been hot, humid, unrelenting, and unforgiving. And this is definitely the point in time when people think, this is it, I've had enough, I can't do it, and I'm throwing in the towel. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do that. You can just pull back a little bit. Some really small changes can change the way that you're gardening and make you feel connected and happy with your gardening life again. The first thing I'm gonna say is any of that pressure that you're feeling within yourself, you put that there. So just take that away. You don't need to be doing that to yourself. So if you've told yourself that you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to produce so much, or whatever those parameters are that you have told yourself that you have to do, you don't. And just right now, take that off of your shoulders and know that you are allowed to change course and you are allowed to be adaptable. And it's probably even a little bit preferred if you're adaptable. So just take those chains off. My next tip for you is just accept what is. A lot of us have this need to control. Trust me, sign me up, that's me. But the truth is, a lot with Mother Nature is not in our control. We can do a lot to help her along, but at the end of the day, we can't predict the weather, we can't predict so many things, and we just have to surrender and go with it. Part of me accepting what is in my garden is my snap peas, which, by the way, I planted late. They weren't supposed to produce anything because I started them too late. They gave me a couple of small harvests of peas and then they surrendered. They say they can't take this unrelenting heat. They got some powdery mildew and they're just done. Can I be mad at them? I planted them late and they still gave me something. That's awesome. I can pull these up if I ever find the time to, and then I can reseed them and we can get another batch coming for the fall. So no harm, no foul. My second thing that I'm just accepting what is are my radishes. I have never successfully grown a root crop. It happens. I'm trying. I am still sowing these things. I'm trying. I'm definitely going to be re-sowing for the fall, and we're going to try and see if we can get a radish later. I didn't get any spring or summer. Maybe third time's a charm. I don't know. But it is what it is. I'm not going to lose sleep or beat myself up because I haven't grown a radish. It is what it is. Nothing in the garden is ever a failure. At the very least, these are going to go into compost and they will help with next year's soil composition. They are also helping me realize that the conditions that I put them in weren't the greatest. I had them out in full sun and it got too hot and they were starting to burn and they didn't like that. So my thought was I'll put them under the tree and they'll be happier there because they will get less sun. It worked for the peas that I started late. They were happy. They started giving me peas. Well, the radishes, not so much. I learned something new. Apparently they need direct sunlight on their stems and that's how we get that bulb to develop. So now I know that for next time. I will be putting it in full sun for the next time, but I will do so when the temperatures are a little bit more forgiving. My next tip for you is to realize that photo perfect gardens don't really exist. And if they do, they're probably using some chemicals and some gardening methods that you and I aren't implementing. Your leaves are going to have different color variations among themselves. They might be a little bit crispy, some yellowing, some browning. Also, they're probably gonna have holes in them. We have critters munching on our garden. I saw something great that I absolutely loved. If I can find it again, I'll pop it on the screen. But it said something along the lines of, if something's not eating your plants, then your plant is not part of the ecosystem. And that's so true. If we have everything just so sterile and so uninviting to the pests and critters of the world, then we're not truly being part of the ecosystem. It's all part of the game. Of course, we need to try to keep a balance. If everything is all out of whack, all of these numbers are really crazy for the bugs that can be really damaging to your garden, of course that's not a good thing. But what I do is manually pick the bugs off that I can, and I don't do any spraying or anything like that. Of course that can be really labor intensive. So I'll be honest with you, if I don't feel like doing it, I don't. And that's okay. At the end of the day, I realize I'm not gonna be able to pick every bug. I'm not gonna be able to find every egg. I'm not gonna be able to do any of that. So if there's a day where I'm not in the mood, I'm tired, maybe the baby had a bad day, or it's just so hot and it's, you know, 8 o'clock at night and it's still in the 80s or humid or whatever, I choose not to do it. And does that make me a bad gardener? I don't think so. All it means is that I'm giving myself grace as a human, because I'm a human first. And the other thing that I love to say is that it will be there tomorrow. And trust me, I do the same thing for the dishes in the house. I'm like, hey, I don't feel like doing this. They'll be here in the morning, we'll get to it. Just try to give yourself that freedom in your life. Be the person who is always there for yourself. I think it's really easy to always cheer other people on, but I think it's super important to also tell yourself and give yourself permission to honestly have the lazy days or the lazy hours, or to not do something that you don't want to do. I don't think I've talked about this yet on my channel, but I am a stay-at-home mom. I quit my dental hygiene job so that I could stay home with my daughter. And one of the biggest reasons that I did that is because I decided I'm not going to do things that don't make me happy and that don't fill my love tank. Dental hygiene wasn't doing that for me. It wasn't filling me up. It was honestly emptying me more than anything. And so I decided to stop. And sometimes things can empty us in the moment. Most days the garden fills me up, but I have days where I'm like, that's gonna empty me and I'm not gonna do it. So basically what I'm trying to say to you guys is find a balance. Give yourself grace and be there for yourself, and know when you need that little bit of a break. Another tip that I have for you all is just kind of know when something is not worth that much of your time anymore. This year was the first year for our Cabbage Patch or our Brassica Patch, and I'm not gonna lie to you, we kind of have not been taking the best care of it. My priority has been to take care of the summer garden and protect the harvest and all of the things that are happening in there, and I've gone a lot more lax on the Cabbage Patch. The Cabbage Patch has still been growing, it's still producing, and it's still doing its thing, but it has not gotten my full attention. Now, on one hand, I think that this is cool because it kind of shows me that even though I'm not out there pruning relentlessly, weeding, picking bugs off, I don't think I've picked a single bug off of this section of the garden, it still grows. And that's something that as gardeners, especially new gardeners, you need to know. We think that, again, everything is under our control, that everything is happening because of us, and whatever your thoughts are. And the truth is, I feel bad saying it, but the truth is, we're not that important to the garden. We have to plant the seeds, take off the harvest, but for the most part, the garden is gonna do what she's gonna do. And let my Cabbage Patch be a perfect example of that for you. I've weeded it once this season. I'll probably do it again. It's looking like it's about ready. But the other part of why it's been a little bit more neglected is because this was supposed to be like my spring weather crops, and we did not get a spring, y'all. It went from being nice and cool, comfortable, that beautiful spring weather, to hot, humid, high temperatures basically overnight. And of course my plants didn't really like that. I kept my Brussels sprouts in, I kept the broccoli in when it bolted, and the cauliflower. And then, like you saw in one of my videos, I planted tomatoes in the middle because I couldn't say no to them. Oh, that was the garden tour. But the garden's just hanging out. It's fine. It's not mad at me. Hopefully for the fall I can get it cleaned up and we can get some actual production out of it. But this was a new garden for me. I already knew what I was doing in this section of the garden. I had that nailed down. And next thing, I have to nail down how to incorporate the Cabbage Patch into my routines and things like that. But for now, I've just surrendered. I said it's okay. She's still thriving and it's okay. Honestly, can I say it's okay one more time? I think the word of this video is going to be surrender. Just surrender to your garden. Realize that we can try to control as much as we want to and as much as we are emotionally and physically available to give to the garden. But at the end of the day, if you can't, just surrender. Just know that even if things aren't going perfectly, you're probably still going to get some benefit out of your garden. I'd be willing to bet you're gonna get a lot of benefit between the food and the practice of gardening, the spiritual, emotional thing. You're gonna get something out of it. Even if you have weeds, even if you haven't picked your bugs off, even if your leaves are turning weird colors, it's okay. Just surrender. My last tip for you all is to find a good time to do your garden chores. You don't want to be out here in the dead of summer heat. Basically for us, that's usually from like 12 to 4 p.m. That is when it is super hot out here. It's unrelenting. The leaves on the plants are drooping. Everything looks sad. If I was out here, I would be sad too. So I choose not to come out during those times unless absolutely necessary. It's better to come out to the garden early in the morning, maybe come out with your cup of coffee, check on things, do your little garden walkthrough, make sure that everything is looking good, everything is staked up if that's what you're doing, vertical gardening. Make sure that no thefts have happened in the night from little critters or whatever it is that you do on your garden walkthroughs. Do that first thing in the morning. If there's any work that needs to be done, make note of it. If it needs to be done immediately, do it really quick before it gets really hot out. Or come back out in the evening when you know that it's gonna be cooler and you can go gather your tools and do all the things that you need to do to be ready to do the work. Also, I know I've said this before, but make sure that you're not watering your garden at that really hot point in the day. Your leaves are going to droop, your plants are gonna look sad, they might wilt, but watering them right then will do more harm than good. Yesterday, it was really, really hot, and when I came out, everything was already drooping at around 11:30, 12 o'clock. At that point in the day, I can't water the wilt out of my plants. It's gonna be hot for the next 4 or more hours, and no matter how much water I give the plants, they're not gonna perk back up because it's just too hot. So what I did is I waited until evening. It was like 8:45 or something. I came outside and I watered then. Honestly, when I came out, most of the stuff had already perked back up. And that tells me they weren't wilting because lack of water. They were wilting because it was just so unrelentingly hot. Things in containers, they were still wilted because of course they have less water to work with. But I gave everything a drink of water. This morning, these plants are all ready for another 100-degree day, and they have that water in their systems to be able to make it through. Honestly, I think this is the most important tip, is just don't come out here when it's that hot out. I feel like when you do, you're just setting yourself up to be miserable and hot. And honestly, when I'm like so ridiculously hot like that, I feel like I start making mistakes, I start rushing, I'm not doing as good of a job. And I know for sure I'm not having that emotional, spiritual connection with my garden. And for me, that's what it's all about. So I have done work in those hot parts of the days, like I said, when it was absolutely necessary. But I would be lying to you if I said I enjoyed it at that time. I didn't. And that's why, for the most part, I choose to do my gardening first thing in the morning or early at night. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I know how hard it can be to put that immense pressure on yourself. I am literally like the queen of doing that. I do it all the time, but just let it go. Let go of that pressure, but most importantly, don't give up. Find new ways to make it work. You can do this. Your garden wants to grow for you and it wants to produce for you. Of course, you should still be intentional with your garden. You don't want to just throw everything to the wayside, let it become this huge, unmanageable mess, because that also can become something that is really stressful for you in the future when it's time to clean it up and trying to get your fall garden in or whatever it is. That is going to be a lot of stress for you. So just find a balance. If you enjoyed this video, let me know down below and let me know the ways that you've given yourself grace this gardening season and how you are not putting that immense pressure on yourself or how you're lifting it. I'll be back on Friday with another video. So if you're not yet, make sure that you're subscribed to my channel down below. I post for sure every Friday, and as much as I can, I try to throw a Tuesday video in there too. Give myself grace when I don't want to do it. But for sure, I'm here every Friday, sometimes on Tuesdays, so make sure that you're subscribed, give the video a thumbs up, comment down below. Also, a little side note, you've seen up in one of these corners my Instagram handle. I post a lot more content there throughout the week on my stories as well as on my feed, so you can keep up with me there too. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!